I'm Janice Fraser, and I'm the founder and CEO of Luxor. That one. This is Rob. He is founder and CTO, yes, of Sharethrough, this one. And we're your hosts for tonight. And chew that one up, and then I'm going to hand you the mic. So, did you all go to the conference this week?
Yeah.
No? You did not? You did? No? Yeah? Okay, good. Awesome. It was a great conference. It's all grown up. Filled with big, important people who work at very large companies. So today we're going to talk about startups, not enterprise. Is that okay with you? It's all among friends.
No, this meeting is disbanded.
All right, the man who needs no introduction, Eric Ries.
Thank you. This is a tough crowd. I'm trying to please everybody. And okay, here's the thing. Here's what you just cannot possibly understand. Except for those of you who were there to experience it. There was a time when we would talk about lean startup, people thought we were absolutely bonkers, crazy. Like that it was a career-limiting move to be talking about it, let alone like all this. So it was not cool. And at that time, like when we first started putting on events and talking about it, all people wanted to know was what big companies are using it. It's the only question anyone ever asked me. Like, is Microsoft doing it? Is whoever, like famous company, is MySpace doing it? I don't remember who was even hot. I can't think back that far, but is AOL doing it? And we had to be like, no, it's something new, and you're a startup, so you should try it because it's new. So we used to spend all of our time. I can't even tell you how many hours of my life I spent trying to desperately find any kind of like moderately important person who would validate that what we were talking about was not ludicrous, and therefore people should give it a try. And nobody was like, be like, well, look at these other great startups that you've never heard of, using it and killing it. Like Sharethrough, one of the earliest adopters of lean startup. Like Sharethrough wasn't in the office like this when we met, right? When they first, so like you're like, oh, this great enterprise sales company in a media space that is, and then people be like, oh, like what? What's it called? You're like, oh, it doesn't matter the name of it or. Like, I think it's called Sharethrough. You might have heard of it. And they're of course be like, no. And they're like, but you should still do lean startup. I'm like, well, I've never heard of them. Is famous person X. So all we used to do, all we create was any sort of like, you guys remember, any kind of vaguely famous person validation. It was so hard. And now people are complaining. Oh, you got all these famous people who say it's a good idea, and so like before people wouldn't do it because there was no validation from famous people, but now people won't do it because it's got too much. It's like over the hill, it's jump the shark. It's too mainstream, and it's not cool. And that is such a Silicon Valley thing. I can't even tell you. Stuff goes from like couldn't care less about it and not interested to it is overhyped and I don't want to hear about it anymore, without passing through the intervening stage of anyone actually doing it. So I swear to God, the very first time TechCrunch, as far as I know, ever used the word pivot correctly was in their article about how the concept of pivot had jumped the shark, and it was hereby banned from TechCrunch coverage. So like, it's a very Silicon Valley thing to do, and I'm not picking on them. Although they deserve it sometimes. It's crazy, and I don't know if you guys saw this. Is it always? Who's people recording this? Am I on the record at the moment? I just need to know what I can and can't say. Yeah, thank you. I guess people can live tweet.
There's nothing else.
I know, that's true.
NSA.
Yeah.
What's that?
NSA.
Well, that goes without saying, but they don't care. What do I have to say? What do they care about what I have to say?
Is Steve Blank helping them with their acquisition program?
Oh yeah, we can't talk about that. So let's talk about something we can't talk about. I'm trying to stay under their radar as much as possible. No, just to say that the snark and the reasons why you shouldn't pay attention to it. Some of you know there was some press coverage coming out of the conference that was over the top negative about the fact that some things that we talk about at the conference, like people are starting small and showing modest early results. Instead of wasting hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars on a massive campaign that the press would very gladly cover as awesome until it crashes and burns and then we don't pretend it exists. So there's just there's something about these ideas that are polarizing to people, and they are always looking for the thing to criticize, the thing that's different, and Fuck 'em, that's what I have to say.
Yeah.
So anyway, which brings me to tonight's program. No, in all seriousness, it is so crazy. It was so standing on stage at the conference. If you just look at the crowd, who was there? Those of you who were there, and any of you who were at the previous year's conferences. I mean, anyone there the first year we did Startup Lessons Learned? Some of these guys, yeah. So you remember it was like, yeah. Oh, he's got the T-shirt. Now that's cool. That is a collector's item.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah, I know. That's the crazy thing. People thought at that time it was already like it had jumped the shark because now we had a conference, and people thought like, oh, this must be like the 5th year of. People were like, how many years have we been doing this conference? And I'd be like, we're doing it right now. It's actually being invented as we speak. You're at the first conference, and people didn't believe it because we already had a T-shirt. Anyway. It was mostly dudes like sitting in rows with laptops staring at the screen, and on the other hand, very enthusiastic introverts. Okay, so it was like half revival meeting, half like guys coding, like kind of half listening to whatever. And I remember the very first talk we had. It was Kent Beck, who was here. He was our very first keynote. I was like over the moon. Oh my god, this guy is here, and it's going to be electric. And he went on like this rambling discussion about goats. I remember that. Okay, I thought
awesome.
and Chase, it was all. I think that everything that guy says is awesome. He was back to tell the banjo story this year. That a lot of people were like. I thought the story was totally profound. Not everybody agrees. And like it was like 10 minutes into that presentation, I was like, oh, this is over. This is like people in the room were like, what is this? It was like even then we had non-tech startup people in the room, which I wouldn't expect. Our conference was by me for like the kind of person I want, the kind of conference I would want to go to, the people I wanted to hear from, and then to see like a much more diverse crowd, like not the like it wasn't the like countercultural like we are going to go smash the universe energy, because like a lot of people were there because like their boss told them about these startups. And it's like, it's like your parents told you about a new website. How cool can it be? It's not the same like early adopter, like fervor, energy, grassroots thing. But on the other hand, we're accomplishing so many of the things that we set out to accomplish those years ago. And so, it's a little weird. We do now have to have like events for lots of different groups, and there's not one but 2 books with the same title, Lean Enterprise, coming out this year. So like it's getting ridiculous, but I'm glad that somebody is keeping the like startup flame alive. So first of all, thank you guys for organizing this. I thought it was super cool. I knew I had to stop by, even though I spent the last 12 hours today with GE. So I know, everyone thinks I'm a hypocrite, but and here's the thing I want to come and tell you, and just so you know. We're all trying to build new hyper-growth companies. I joked about the conference. If you hate big companies so much, why are you trying to create a new one? Right. So yeah, and that's the thing. We focus so much on like how to get started and how to get past the early. I mean, it's so effing hard to get a company started and to build that first MVP and to test it. I mean, it's like I don't have to tell you guys. It's like sawing off your own whatever. It's very painful. And so we focus so much, it's like, how can we keep this thing alive? But what happens is, and if you look back at the roster of people who were at that first conference who spoke, like, some of those people have gone on to lead hyper-growth companies. And although at the time, they were just like MVP, whatever, like focusing on, the tactics of just like, how do I survive? Like, eventually you confront the question, what kind of company am I trying to build? And we had a lot of people from Toyota at the conference who talked about lean leadership and the new meat plant and all that kind of stuff. And we had some people who said, what is the point of talking about that? We should be talking about hot tech companies. Because if you want to create the next Instagram, the person you got to study is Instagram. You want the next Facebook and stuff. But I'm not convinced that any of those tech companies are going to stand the test of time and are actually going to exist 5 or 10 years, let alone 50 years from now. So I think we need to study not just the tactics of growth hacking and how to get started and all and the tech. I mean, that stuff that has a certain place, but that we have a serious problem as a movement. We're going to be all about creating something new. There's this question of like, what is the new thing that we're trying to create? And I honestly think that's a problem that we have actually a lot in common between the scrappy startup bootstrappers and the corporate entrepreneurs and the high growth people. And so that's why I spend my time going from one thing to that's weird to go straight from GE to this. It happens to me all the time. I try to find an outfit I can wear in both cases. It's just challenging. It's a little bit weird. And they think I'm super radical, like crazy off-the-chart startup people, and you guys all think I'm a sellout. It's hard. It's hard to find that sweet spot. So, you're going to have to take my word for it for now, because most of the really cool stuff that's happening on the corporate side is secret. And people are not talking about it. And we got a little taste of it at the conference, but those people are controlled by PR, and they're very limited in what they can say publicly. So for the moment, take my word for it that there is something really interesting brewing, and that I think we have a lot to learn from each other. And I actually was very pleased to see the press criticizing them for the same thing we used to get criticized for. I think that means we're probably on the right track. So anyway, it is cool. It's cool that we need to have this event, to me. It means that we've accomplished something and we've gotten something. And just because we've passed through that early adopter stage and now we have all these mainstream customers, it doesn't mean everything we do has to be corporate born. Like, thank God. There's no rule that says we have to do the same things that they do, that we have to talk about the same things that they talk about. We don't have to dress the same as them. Like, we can be, I hope anyway, we can be a Big Ten and all be having the conversation. And that it can include the manufacturing guys from the Enterprise Institute. It can include the GEs and the Toyotas and Intuits. And it can also include the thousands and thousands of awesome startups that you've never heard of, some of whom, probably you, but maybe not the person sitting next to you, are going to turn into that next hyper-growth thing. And then you can say you knew it all along, and of course it was just because you're a great visionary and you had the right idea. No problem. So anyway, that's kind of what's on my mind after a totally exhausting week. Yeah, and I'm just so glad that somebody else is organizing this, and so I can just sit back and relax. So anyway, thanks for coming, and thanks for giving me a chance to say hello. Appreciate it.